Thousands enter the Darién Gap every year chasing the dream of reaching America. But many never make it out. What they find instead is a jungle ruled by traffickers, killers, and unthinkable violence. This is the world's most dangerous migration route, and the nightmare no one is talking about. Welcome to Whispers of the Taken, where every mystery is a voice lost in the shadows. This video is based on public information and falls under fair use. Like, subscribe, and comment. Even the quietest voice can echo the loudest truth. Deep in the heart of the jungle, where the road between Colombia and Panama disappears into a maze of mud, rivers, and shadows, lies one of the darkest humanitarian crises on Earth, the Darién Gap. It's a place whispered about in fear, a stretch of land so unforgiving that even the strongest lose hope. Yet every day, thousands of men, women, and children step into it, chasing the promise of a better life in America. What many don't realize until it's too late is that the jungle itself isn't the true danger, it's the people who control it. Traffickers, armed gangs, and predators of every kind wait in the shadows, exploiting the desperate and the hopeful. What happens inside the Darién Gap is a nightmare hidden from the world, one filled with kidnapping, torture, rape, and death. Despite the flood of coverage this place has received, from major outlets like Vice News, BBC, and National Geographic, to countless independent journalists risking everything to expose the truth, little has changed. Year after year, the same brutal realities repeat, almost to the point of feeling genocidal. Governments issue statements, humanitarian groups sound alarms, yet the suffering continues as if nothing has been heard. It's as though the world has chosen to look away, or worse, as if the truth is being deliberately buried. How can such a vast humanitarian tragedy persist in plain sight, despite the cameras, the reports, and the cries for help echoing through the jungle? The journey begins. Nature and navigation as first killers. Crossing the Darién Gap is already a gamble with nature. The terrain is a vast roadless rainforest, thick with rain-soaked mountains, swamps, rivers, dangerous weather, and animals. Migrants walk for days, sometimes over a week. Rivers flood, footholds give way, and people drown or fall to injury. Foot amputations from infections, snake bites, and exhaustion are common. The environment doesn't discriminate. A child, a pregnant mother, an elderly person, anyone can be lost or maimed. Robbery, extortion, kidnapping. The criminals lurk at every turn. Once you enter the jungle, it's not only nature you fear, it's the people waiting within it. Many of the so-called guides or traffickers lure desperate families with promises of safe passage to America, claiming they can lead them through the Darién for a fee, often $10,000 per person, sometimes even more. But once that money changes hands, it's game over. There are no guarantees, no protection, no escape. Armed gangs, drug traffickers, and organized smuggler networks control the routes, preying on the very people they swore to help. Migrants are robbed of everything: food, water, clothing, their last bit of hope. Those with nothing left are beaten. Those with something of value are tortured or extorted until they give it up. Entire groups are sometimes kidnapped, their families back home contacted for ransom. Survivors recount being held at gunpoint, forced to pay again and again just to keep moving forward, extorted by one criminal group after another, trapped in a nightmare disguised as a journey to freedom. Disappearances, murders, no justice beyond rape. Many migrants disappear altogether. Bodies are found or not found, and many deaths go uncounted. Some are killed by criminal groups or shot when they try to resist or defend others. Many drown or die from exposure, dehydration, disease. There is almost no accountability. Few perpetrators are ever arrested. Corruption, remote terrain, lack of state presence, fear among survivors all combine so that crimes go uninvestigated. Children, especially vulnerable, often forgotten. Children face layered vulnerabilities. Unaccompanied or traveling with family, they're prey for kidnappers, forced sexual exploitation, or trafficking. Some are negotiated in groups. Older children negotiating so younger ones might not be harmed, as some testimonies show. Some girls are raped near villages along the route. Some are separated from families. Some die from exposure or disease. Many carry deep psychological scars. Aid groups say underreporting is worse for children because they may not have ability or trust to report. Disease, malnutrition, dehydration. Slow violence. Violence isn't only bullets and blades. It's the slow weakening of bodies. Dehydration, lack of clean drinking water, malnutrition, tropical diseases, malaria, infections, parasites, untreated wounds. If someone is injured, say after robbery or fall, they might walk with that injury for days because they know stopping is risky. Mental health suffers. Trauma, nightmares, guilt, depression haunt those who make it out. Impunity is the norm, not the exception. Even when abuses are reported, justice is rare. Criminal networks operate in zones where state control is weak or non-existent. On the Panamanian side, many attacks are not prosecuted. Authorities often lack resources or will. Sometimes policy or political concerns block action. MSF, HRW, and others continuously call for better law enforcement, more human rights protections, more crime detection. But very often the message goes unheeded. Numbers that terrify but likely undercount reality. The scale of suffering in the Darién Gap is staggering, almost beyond comprehension. In 2023 alone, Médecins Sans Frontières, MSF, treated around 676 survivors of sexual violence, most of them women and children who endured unimaginable horrors during their journey. And that's just the cases officially recorded. In one single week in February 2024, MSF reported treating 113 victims, including several children, each one carrying physical wounds and deep psychological scars. But these numbers barely scratch the surface. Every person who makes it to an aid post represents countless others who never do. Those who are too terrified to speak, too injured to walk, or simply never seen again. Estimates show that hundreds of thousands of people attempt the crossing each year, driven by desperation, poverty, or dreams of a safer life in the United States. Yet for every group that emerges from the jungle, others vanish into its depths, claimed by violence, exhaustion, or the unforgiving terrain. The true number of assaults, rapes, murders, and disappearances remains unknown, buried with the bodies that go unrecovered and the voices silenced forever. Aid workers say the figures we have are a fraction of reality, a grim reminder that behind every statistic lies a life destroyed. What is documented is horrifying enough, but what isn't may be far worse. The policy vacuum, international responsibility. What makes the Darién Gap tragedies worse is that the world knows but does very little that actually works. Governments of Panama and Colombia have been criticized repeatedly by Human Rights Watch, UN bodies, MSF, for failing to adequately protect migrants, coordinate, ensure justice, or provide safe alternative routes. Aid orgs have had their operations restricted. Sometimes NGOs are blocked from entering certain zones or denied permissions. Meanwhile, migration policies that limit legal passage push desperate people to risk this route. But there are survivors, witnesses, and it can't be ignored. Even among all the suffering, there are survivors, witnesses, activist voices that refuse to stay silent. NGOs keep publishing reports. Survivors keep giving interviews. Some governments have increased patrols or cross-border cooperation. The issue is not ignorance, it's inertia. If people knew more, demanded more, if international media kept this in view, if migration policies were changed, if justice systems were strengthened, some of this horror could be reduced. But as long as many people never hear the real stories, as long as victims are silenced by fear, stigma, or loss, the injustices will multiply in the rainforest. Conclusion: why nothing enough seems to change. What makes the Darién Gap tragedies especially brutal is the combination of natural dangers, criminal impunity, policy neglect, and vulnerability of the people who cross. Many are fleeing unimaginable situations, poverty, persecution, disaster. But in choosing the safer unknown, they find horrors many never anticipated. Being robbed, raped, watched, trapped, sometimes murdered. The system is failing at multiple levels: humanitarian, legal, political. Until there is real accountability, until states and international bodies treat this not as a migrant crisis, but as a human rights emergency requiring immediate action, the tragedies will multiply. People die in ways that go uncounted. Children suffer in silence. Women carry trauma invisible to those safe in urban centers. We must know, we must see, and then we must push for change. If nothing else, recognizing it fully is the first step away from turning a human tragedy into mere background noise.